Starting off with the LA Angels, I have Anthony Rendon. Let's start this off with the obvious. I mean, it's getting a bit tiring at this point, putting him in this spot each year, but when you're making $35 million a year and you have a negative Fangraph wins above replacement, there's no other choice. For the Houston Astros, I have Chas McCormick. After hitting 22 home runs and posting a WRC plus of 133 last season, McCormick has had a rough go here in 2024. Through 94 games, he's only hitting .211 with a 66 WRC plus with 5 home runs, and he was even demoted down to AAA earlier in the year. For the Oakland A's, I have Zach Geloff. I had high hopes for Geloff this year. After getting called up in 2023 and posting solid numbers in his rookie year, Geloff has struggled mightily here in 2024. Sure, he's got 17 home runs, but his overall slash line has dropped, and his WRC plus has dropped from 132 last year to 84 this year. For the Toronto Blue Jays, I got Bo Bichette. After consistently putting up solid offensive numbers in each season of his career so far, Bichette has put up the worst year of his career in 2024. His batting average, on base, slugging, and WRC plus are the worst of his career so far, and he has a career low in home runs with 4. While he has dealt with injuries this year, it's unknown if he'll even be in Toronto for the final season of his contract next season. For the Atlanta Braves, I got Sean Murphy. After coming to the Braves in a big trade last year, he put up solid numbers both behind and at the plate, but this year, while he has had some injuries, both his bat and his defense behind the plate have gone down quite a bit. With all of the injuries the Braves have suffered this year, this was terrible timing for him to take a dive. For the Milwaukee Brewers, I have DL Hall. After trading away their ace Corbin Burns, Brewers fans were excited to see the pitcher they got back in return, DL Hall. Instead, it's been pretty much the opposite, as he hasn't really delivered all that much to Milwaukee. He struggled out of the gate, ended up injuring his knee, and he was out for about 4 months. After coming back, he's been up and down and finds himself pitching in long relief in the bullpen. For the St. Louis Cardinals, I have Nolan Arenado. The Cardinals were looking like playoff contenders at one point, but they faded in the second half. One guy, someone that Cardinals fans count on each year to produce, is their star player, Nolan Arenado, but instead, he's been pretty below average this year. Through 150 games, he's only posted an OPS of 715, the lowest of his career since his rookie season, while getting paid over $30 million. I'll also point out Jordan Walker here, who was one of the top prospects in the game at one point, but over the last couple of seasons, he hasn't really been able to get anything going at the major league level, and he's been sent back down to the minor leagues a couple of times. For the Chicago Cubs, I have Cody Bellinger. Last offseason, Bellinger ended up returning to the Cubs after a solid bounce-back season, but instead of keeping those numbers going, his numbers have dipped a little bit. After posting an OPS of 881 and a WRC plus of 136 in 2023, both of those have dropped to 757 and 110. For the Arizona Diamondbacks, I got Jordan Montgomery. Oof, what a bust of a signing this has been. Granted, Montgomery did sign very late in spring training, and it seems that he blames his old agent, Scott Boras, for mishandling his free agency, but his numbers have been dreadful all year, and he even got put into the bullpen at one point. Overall, through 25 games and 21 starts, he has an ERA of 6.23 and a FIP of 4.48. Far worse than the best season of his career just last year. For the LA Dodgers, I got James Outman. Luckily for the Dodgers, they have tons of star power with Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman, but one guy who's been a huge letdown is James Outman. After finishing third in Rookie of the Year voting in 2023, he's completely fallen off this season, posting a negative Fangraph wins above replacement and was even sent down to the minor leagues at one point. For the San Francisco Giants, I have Camille Duvall. After last season, it was looking like Duvall was one of the best closers in baseball, as he finished second in saves with 39 while posting solid numbers, but this year his numbers have completely tanked as his walk percentage has almost doubled, with his ERA sitting above a 5, and the Giants sent him down to the minor leagues back in August. For the Cleveland Guardians, I have Tristan McKenzie. The Guardians have had a strong season, but their starting pitching has been a weak link this year, and Tristan McKenzie has not helped out really all that much. Guardians fans were excited for a bounce-back year from McKenzie after missing a lot of the 2023 season, but instead, they got a 5.11 ERA and a 6.45 FIP over 16 starts, and he got sent back down to the minor leagues earlier in the year. For the Seattle Mariners, I have Mitch Garver. Last offseason, the Mariners signed Mitch Garver to a 2-year, $24 million contract after he helped the Rangers win a World Series, and Mariners fans were pretty excited about it. Instead, it's been the complete opposite, as Garver has put up the worst season of his career outside of the 2020 season, posting a career-low batting average of 167 and a career-low OPS of 607. I'll also point out Julio Rodriguez a little bit. While he did heat up in the second half, his overall numbers have dipped this year, with his OPS falling to 736 after it was above 800 the prior 2 seasons. For the Miami Marlins, I have Max Meyer. The Marlins had yet another fire sale this season after making the postseason just last year, but one guy Marlins fans were excited to see back was Max Meyer, who was recovering from Tommy John surgery last season. This year, though, he hasn't really shown all that much, posting an ERA of 5.68 and a FIP of 5.90 over 11 starts. For the New York Mets, I have Brett Beatty. The Mets have had a wild ride this year, but one guy that wasn't really a part of it was Brett Beatty. After being drafted 12th overall back in 2019, Beatty hasn't really lived up to the hype after posting great numbers in the minor leagues. This year, after starting the year with the Mets, he was sent down to the minor leagues in June after only posting an OPS of 633, and he hasn't been seen since. For the Washington Nationals, I have Keiber Ruiz. While the Nationals are on the rise, Keiber Ruiz saw a dramatic dip in his offensive numbers this year as he posted a career-low batting average of 224 and a career-low OPS of 615. For the Baltimore Orioles, I have Adley Rutschman. Now, if Craig Kimbrell was still on the team, he would be in this spot, but since the Orioles released him, I'll go with Adley Rutschman. Now, Adley got off to a pretty good start this year, posting a 780 OPS with a 123 WRC plus in the first half, but he has struggled big time in the second half, only posting an OPS of 584. I'll also mention Jackson Holliday here, who has posted a negative 0.3 Fangraph wins above replacement. Now, I don't think because of his down rookie year, he's going to be a bad player. Actually, I think he's going to be a great player. Many great players have had down rookie years, but when you consider the amount of hype he was getting when he was first called up, I think it's safe to say there's a little bit of disappointment there. Now, I know people will probably clap back at this because he is just 20 years old, but there are other 20-year-olds like Jackson Chourio, who's had a good year, and Jackson Merrill, who turned 21 in April, is in the running for Rookie of the Year. For the San Diego Padres, I have Xander Bogaerts. While he did miss a good chunk of time due to a shoulder injury, Bogaerts has had a very underwhelming season. While he has hit a little bit better in the second half, this is statistically the worst full season of his career since 2014, as his OPS is under 700 for the first time since then. For the Philadelphia Phillies, I have Taijuan Walker. The Phillies are once again one of the best teams in baseball, and they still have one of the best rotations in baseball, but that doesn't really include Taijuan Walker. Simply put, the Phillies are paying him $18 million per season, and he's been worth negative $9 million this season as he's posted an ERA over 7, and he was relegated to the bullpen at one point. For the Pittsburgh Pirates, I have Henry Davis. At this point, the number 1 pick from the 2021 draft was expected to be the everyday catcher for the Pirates. However, he hasn't been able to get anything going up to this point, and he was sent back down to the minor leagues this year. While he has had a couple of injuries, including a concussion, he's only been able to hit 144 with a 30 WRC plus over 37 major league games. I also want to point out Brian Hayes here. Last year, it looked like he was taking a step forward as the batted ball profile was looking pretty good, and he had a league average WRC plus, but this year, the metrics have dropped, and his WRC plus only clocked in at 59. For the Texas Rangers, I have Adolis Garcia. After Garcia was a big star in the postseason last year, helping the Rangers win a World Series, he's taken a big step back this year. He posted the best season of his career in 2023, but all of those numbers have come down, including his slash line, along with a career low in home runs. For the Tampa Bay Rays, I have Josh Lowe. After a solid season in 2023, in which he posted an 835 OPS, 20 home runs, and 32 stolen bases, Lowe's numbers have come down a lot this year. While he has suffered some injuries, and he was still able to steal 25 bases this year, his OPS is down to a 699, and he's only hit 10 home runs. For the Boston Red Sox, I have Vaughn Grissom. After being the main piece that came back in the Chris Sale trade last offseason, many people were expecting Grissom to flourish with more playing opportunities in Boston. Instead, he suffered multiple injuries while only posting a WRC plus of 15. To make matters worse, Chris Sale is probably going to be winning the Cy Young in the National League. For the Cincinnati Reds, I have Noelvi Marte. The Reds were looking like they were going to take a step forward this year, with Marte being a key player. Instead, he tested positive for a PED violation to start the year, and he hasn't really been able to get anything going since coming back, only hitting .210 with a 556 OPS. For the Colorado Rockies, I have Chris Bryant. At this point, Chris Bryant is on his way to becoming one of the worst free agent signings of all time, if not the worst of all time. After signing with the Rockies back in 2022, he's posted a combined negative Fangraph wins above replacement of 1.4. This year, he's once again dealt with numerous injuries, and he's only posted an OPS of 624 with 2 home runs over 37 games. What a disaster. For the Kansas City Royals, I have MJ Melendez. The Royals have been a fun team this year, and they're on the cusp of getting back to the playoffs for the first time since 2015. But one guy I was hoping to see a bit more out of was MJ Melendez. Sure, he has hit a bit better in the second half, but this is a guy who was the number 2 prospect in their system at one point, only behind Bobby Witt Jr., and he hit 41 home runs in the minor leagues back in 2021, but he hasn't had a whole lot of success at the major league level up to this point. This year, the batting average, the on base are both down, along with his WRC plus dropping to a below average 87. For the Detroit Tigers, I have Spencer Torkelson. It looked like Torkelson had taken a step forward with his career last year after hitting 31 home runs, but this year he took a big step back. After slumping through the first couple of months of the season, he was sent back down to AAA, and while he has been a bit more productive since coming back up, this was not the season Tigers fans were expecting from the number 1 pick back in 2020. For the Minnesota Twins, I have Edouard Julien. After a solid season in 2023 in which he posted a 135 WRC plus, Julien hasn't really been the same this year. He got off to a good start, but then he slumped big time after that, and he got sent back down to the minor leagues. He did pick it back up a little bit in August, but overall he's posted a WRC plus of 83 and an OPS of only 629. For the Chicago White Sox, I got Andrew Benintendi. I mean, let's be real, I think you can just put the entire White Sox team here, other than Garrett Crochet, but I'll go with Andrew Benintendi. I could see some people going with Luis Robert here because, yes, he's had a lot of injuries once again and the worst season of his career up to this point. But considering Benintendi is making $15 million a season while producing a negative 0.5 Fangraph WAR, I think that's pretty disappointing. And last but not least, for the New York Yankees, I have Alex Verdugo. Now, I don't think Yankee fans were expecting Verdugo to come in and be Babe Ruth, but I think they were expecting a bit better than what he's produced. Now, he did get off to a pretty good start this year, posting a 128 WRC plus in April, but since then he's been an absolute shell of himself, only posting a 74 WRC plus since the beginning of May. But everyone, that's my list. Tell me what you think down below in the comments. Tell me some other disappointing players this year, but that's all I got for right now, everyone. If you can on the way out, hit that like button for me, subscribe if you're new, and I'll talk to you next time.